Greetings, everyone. Welcome to 1111, the Welcome to the Writer's Pathway book launch party for my sister friend, Cha Jones. Let's give her a hand, everyone. Let's give her a hand. While we're entering in and waiting for everyone to come in and get settled, if you could drop into the chat where you're from, where you're joining us from, that would be great. I hail from Gary, Indiana, okay, by way of also Atlanta, Georgia, or Riverdale, for those that are familiar with the area, and currently residing in Merida, Mexico. All right. Okay. So let us know where you're tuning in from. Also, let us know what your relationship with writing is. Okay. And what healing has been like for you. You can drop one word, if you like. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, guys. Well, we're going to just keep moving on ahead, and we are going to go ahead and start to introduce the woman of the hour, my friend Cha Jones. Is an author, speaker, and soul alignment coach who helps women heal through writing, reflection, and self discovery. Known for her authentic storytelling and compassionate truth telling, Cha empowers women to release old narratives and reclaim their voices. A world traveler and healer at heart, she weaves together spirituality, creativity, and lived experience to guide others toward freedom and wholeness. She is the author of several transformative works, including Soft Landing, Reclaim Her, and her newest release, The Writer's Pathway, a guided journal designed to help women turn their stories into medicine and their pain into purpose. And so now, joining us is Cha, not just an author, a sister, a healer, a truth teller. And tonight, we celebrate not only her new book, The Writer's Pathway, but the women we're all becoming through the power of our stories. Let's welcome Cha.
Hello.
Hi, Cha.
Well, hello, Tracy. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
You are very welcome. You look absolutely amazing, fantastic, bright and shining.
I'm doing the best I can with what I got.
All right. Well, now that you are on, and before we get started with our wonderful interview, I want to give just a little bit of information here. We have an ongoing raffle, and we have a journal start kit. Okay. Of course, all of this is curated by wonderful Miss Jones. Okay. And then we have a second raffle item, which is her book, Reclaim Her, a 12-week journal for mothers. And then the third item will be is the book, Soft Landing, A Return to Self. Okay. So in order to enter into the raffle, You'll need to go onto Amazon because, honey, the book went live at midnight. Okay, so you're gonna need to go to Amazon, make your purchase, screenshot that you've purchased, and you will want to send that to pins and passport at gmail.com. And is that passport singular or with an S on the end?
And S, I believe.
Okay, so that's plural, pins and passports at gmail.com. All right. And I believe there is a QR code that you can also. I'm not too good on the technical things, so I don't know if you can tap it or screenshot it, but the QR code is there, and you can use that to also make your purchase online. Okay. All right. So feel free to scan and connect. All right. So, let's get into it.
Let's get into it, Hunty. Yes.
Let's get into it. All right. So, you know, I have the pleasure of knowing you. So I know how wonderful you are. I know how creative you are. I know how imaginative you are. I have had the opportunity to witness you healing and growing and being a sister and helping other women, along the way, along the path, inviting women to heal with such grace and compassion. And so, as we move into this interview, I want to ask the first question of what inspired the writer's pathway and how does it connect to your own healing journey?
Great question. Thank you for asking. Before I do this, before I answer the question, I want to first say this to everyone who has joined us here today. Thank you so much. This is, being a creative and putting something out is a labor of love because you don't know what's going to happen and you've put all of yourself into something. And the moment of truth is when you just launch it and let it go. And so I thank everybody who is participating, who is buying a book, who is showing up. And so thank you. Now, what inspired this book? Life. So if you are following me, then you know that I'm going through this, what I call a messy realignment. And wasn't obviously something that I planned. And just to give people some context, I believe in numerology. I study it, practice it, and I am in a 7 year, which 7 years are kind of tough because it is about waking you up to yourself. It is about realigning you. It's about spiritual mastery and learning. It's a year of nothing but learning, lessons after lessons. And so I knew that coming into the year. And I tried to, I was like, okay, what's the safest route to go? However, nothing's safe on the journey, especially when you have been called to do something. So the book was inspired by the journey. Life was happening and it was life. And as they say, the young people say. And so I was just going with life. And I started thinking about what is it that I want to do? And so I've been coaching for about 16 years now. But I've always been a coach. I've always been a seer. I've always been a teacher at heart. And one of the things that I understood about myself is that I had this calling to do something with people, to help people and help people process life. And so at some point I thought, God, really, did you forsake me? Because the promise is not promising, right? And so I just really, I had to go into myself and try to understand this journey that I was on. And I've always been a person who did the work, but I felt like, okay, I've been doing this work. It wasn't until this year that I realized that yes, you've been doing work, but this is time for you to have the test out so that you could so that you can really understand that you really do know what you know so that you can go to the next level. So this was equivalent to get your doctorate. So it's time to do your dissertation, baby. And so I was like, what in all the world? Because I really did not have a clear understanding of what that meant, because I just thought this year was just gonna be like, okay, you need to learn a little more. You need to really, you know, say you are who you are and stand in your power. But read a couple books, chill out a little, and get ready for next year. That's not how that happened. So when this book came to me, I was changing from being an expat coach, and I was like, how can I really stand in my truth? And I started doing more soft living. But what I was finding is that so many people have been indoctrinated by the trend of what soft living is. And I was trying to go from my spiritual aspect of soft living is not about luxury, cars, vehicles, and getting on a jet plane and going here and going there. It's really about coming back to yourself. It's about realigning. It's about positioning yourself in a place where you can have more ease and pleasure versus struggle and strife, right? And so as I was trying to develop my lane in the soft life lane, it really wasn't translating for me. And so I kept like just redeveloping. And what I realized was that I was going back to my first love, and that was writing. I've been writing since I was a little girl, and I was writing to heal myself. I didn't really realize that it was healing, but as I continued to write and things started to develop, then I realized that this was more of the healing process than before. And so it gave me an opportunity to dive deeper. And I don't know about anybody else, but I didn't sign up to heal. I didn't sign up and say, hey, me over here, I want to do some healing. Because, I learned a long time ago, don't ask for patience.
Oh, yes.
When you ask for patience, God will give you everything for you to learn what patience really means, right? So that's like saying, hey, I want to be healed. No, you don't. Are you ready for that? Are you really ready for what healing means? Because healing is not surface level shit, right? It's like I gotta really see myself. I have to go in. I have to really be like, okay, when I was 3 and this happened to me, how did I feel about that? And when you start feeling something, the whole ball game changes, because you have to be, well, it's being called for you to be honest, right?
Yes.
Now, whether you choose to accept, whether you, I feel like I'm on James Bond, do you accept it, or what's that? I don't know what the movie is. See, go down lanes that's not for you, but are you willing to accept the assignment? Are you willing to accept this Mission Impossible? Are you really ready?
Mission Impossible.
Because you don't know what that mission is, right? So in essence, this book is about accepting the mission to heal. And that's pretty much how that journey started.
That is absolutely amazing. I mean, you said, whew, you was preaching. Did you know that?
I got that in me too.
we done broke it all the way down, Listen, that was absolutely profound. Especially the part where you talked about going back that it's really about healing is about coming back into yourself, right? The soft living, the healing aspect of it is about coming back to yourself, getting with those things that have impacted you, things of that nature. Oh, I apologize. One moment. Okay. I promise the light bill is paid.
I'm like, oh
I
Lord.
think it's a Mercury retrograde right now too. And trust me, the digital stuff has been digiting. Okay. Um, so you were talking about how you go back to yourself, right? And you spoke about, you were saying, you just kind of said, when I was 3 and I felt like this, and going back to really, address those and feel those feelings. Exactly what age were you when you started to write?
I was 8, and I remember I had just went to go see Jungle Book, and we was coming out of Jungle
Oh,
Book, and I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, so I was at Crossroads Mall, and we were it was late. It was a late movie, so it was probably like 8, 9 o'clock, and we were walking through the mall, and we came to Hello Kitty, and I saw this little journal book and had a lock on it, and I was like, I want that. My aunt bought it, and she's like, do you know what that is? And I said, it's a book. And she was like, that's a diary. So she's like, do you know what you do with a diary? And so I was like, no, I don't know nothing about no diary. And so she was like, you write, secrets, you write things that you don't want people to know or how you feel. So I was like, oh, I'm intrigued now. I'm like, I can talk about people and nobody's gonna know. I can lock this, I can lock the key. And okay. So I was like, yes, I can tell them how I really feel about them. And so, yeah, I was 8 years old, and I also remember that I really got into it when I started having issues with certain things. So my mother was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 3 years old. I didn't know that was the diagnosis until I was probably 21, because I started just thinking about all the signs, and I'm a very intuitive person. So I just was paying attention to certain things from a very early age. And so I remember that as I started to write, I also had these imaginary friends that would speak to me and tell me things. And so it was my way of communicating with my friends, because my brother did not give me the freedom to just be the little girl that I wanted to be, because he just wanted to irritate me. And so I would write things about him. And then I would write things about my mother. And then if I had an issue at school, I just started writing things. But as time would go on, and I didn't know this at the time, but my intuition was developing more and more, I started just writing as a conversation that I was having. And at the time, I didn't even know I was a poet. I later on, when I was probably about 24 years old, 23, 24, realized all the stuff that I had been writing was good poetry.
oh,
And so
okay.
I started performing poetry. I kind of knew when I was in 5th grade, because my 5th grade teacher was Miss Genovese. She took time to really help me hone and understand I had a craft. And so
Mm.
I actually wrote my very first book and was published when I was in the 5th grade, because she
Oh,
helped me publish me a book. It was a
congratulations.
compilation of some of the other students, but really I was like the in my
The
head.
star. You the
In
star of
my
the
head,
show.
I was the lead author. So I had the
There you
most
go.
pictures. I actually, at that time, didn't know, unbeknownst to me, I was an artist. I actually drew pictures, and they looked like real people with real lips and everything, very detailed. And so I actually illustrated several of the pieces in and I actually have this book to this day. It's about this thick. And it's called My Poetry. I was very simple. But yeah, that was one of the things that I got the opportunity to do. And it was really special because I actually grew up with a learning disability. It was a little bit of dyslexia, a little bit of something else. And honestly, I think because of all the things that were going on in my life, um, me trying to pay attention to my mother to see if she was ill, me hiding, um, and trying to like not allow people to really see me for who I was. I tried to stay in the background as much as possible. That was a time for me that allowed me to then start writing, and I could show up. I could be the actress on stage, and I could actually be all of who I was and not hide or shun or anything. And so at 8, so much was happening, and it was giving me the opportunity to really develop some of the things that now I'm learning in this 7th year, right? I'm learning that some of the reason why I haven't become the coach that I wanted to be, or even stand on some of the stages that I wanted to stand on, was because of the lessons I learned as a child, to stay in the background, to be quiet, be meek. And my real personality is very vibrant. I love color. I love to talk. Uh, but as a child, my brother was the talker, to the point that my mother took me to my great grandmother's house, and we were sitting there, and she said, "Sit down, be quiet, and don't say nothing." So what did she do? Sit down, be quiet, and don't say nothing. And I sat there, and she talked to my great grandmother. My brother, he didn't get those same instructions, obviously. He was just moving and doing all kinds of stuff. And my great grandmother was like, sit down. And to the point that when they got ready to go, she didn't say, "Child, come on, let's go." She grabbed my brother. She said, "Sit down, be quiet, and don't say nothing." So that's what I did. She made it halfway home and realized she didn't have her daughter with her.
Oh
Had to come
my.
back. She was like, "What is wrong with you? Like, you told me to sit down, be quiet, and don't say
Don't
nothing.
say
And you did not say you were leaving. You just, so to that point of just like the things I had learned and how I had become so reserved, that's not even my nature as a person, but that's something I developed. And the writing at that time at 8 helped me to have a voice when I couldn't really, or I didn't feel like, I don't know that I couldn't, but I didn't feel like my voice would be heard in the places that I was sitting.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that with us. You know, so at 8 years old, when you were writing, like you said, it was an opportunity to talk about people and all those types of things when you started writing. But when did you first realize that it was an actual transformative tool, writing?
I think that I've always thought that it had a place, um, and that it gave me a voice, but I don't think that I really knew it until this year, because
Oh.
I thought it was lethargic. I thought it allowed me to have that voice, right? But I don't know that I thought it was a healing power. And so this year,
Mm.
when I really actually ask myself certain questions and I actually put things down on paper, not to be funny, not to be, not to talk about somebody, or not to just, talk about my day. Cause I journal, and I have, child, if you see my storage, I got boxes of journals, I have books and journals, right? And I've always written, and I have like there's a point that I used to write every day. I used to wake up, do a meditation, and just journal. And so even in that, I just thought I was going through a process of journaling. Like, here's my
Mhm.
thoughts, or in that meditation I learned this. But never did I really think about it as a healing technique and modality until I started to really think about how I have told my entire story, my entire life. And at some points, I rewrote that story. And I gave myself the strength to be the little girl who empowered herself to move through certain things versus just allow myself to exist in this life.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. And that's amazing that you've been writing since, since 8 years old. You've been um, developing and nurturing, your, as you say, writing is medicine. You've been nurturing your medicine, um, all of this time. And then now, this year, you really realized how much of a transformative tool it has been. And I mean, I've seen you just completely blossom with it. So, thank you. So, you're a mother.
A late one, but
Congratulations.
I'm a mother now.
And, especially since you had your beginning with writing as a child, how has motherhood influenced your healing and your writing process?
um, so for a long time I used to write, and then there were points where I stopped writing and life happened, right? And you just get into the grind of doing whatever it is that you need to do to either survive or to move through something. Or, writing takes it allows you to sit and be still and be present. And oftentimes life, when it's lifing and doing all the things that you need to do to just stay afloat sometimes, who got time to write, right? And so motherhood was one of those things in life that lifed and kind of took me away from writing at the beginning because I didn't expect to be a single mother, and I became one. And while doing all the things, being mother, father, sister, best friend, uh, cuddle buddy, all the things I had to do to raise my son and not necessarily have time to myself. And this is one of the reasons I kind of shifted into being a soft life coach. It's because I moved to Mexico when my son was 18 months, and everything was on me. So the great thing is that I did have a nanny and I did have a housekeeper, which gave me time to reclaim my time, as Maxine Waters would say. And so it gave me the opportunity to really do some of the things I wanted to do. So I mean, I've had a business since I was probably 21. And so it allowed me to step into one of my businesses. I became a caterer and an event planner. And so that did not really give me time or lend time for me to write. It gave me time to do the things that I wanted to do creatively. But being a mom, when I did have the time, like at night, I'm a night owl. I could stay up all night. I don't care what time I woke up this morning. I can stay up all night. I can stay up to the next day, and I still will be kicking it, right?
Okay.
And so when I would put my son to sleep, it gave me time to kind of sit down and think about what it was that I had gone through that day. And so it gave me the opportunity to write, but never in the way that the last couple years have given me the opportunity to stop and just be present. And people don't, understand how important that is. Whether
Right.
you're writing or whether you're just sitting down meditating or whether you're just sitting, we don't give ourselves those opportunities to just breathe and to just reevaluate the day. We just keep going and going and going. And so I think being a mother, although it is one of the best things I've ever done in my life, I've always wanted to be a mom. At sometimes there are those moments where I'm like, who signed me up for this? And I have to remind myself, you did. But yeah, I think it is, there are challenging moments where finding your voice, when you, especially when a child is small and they don't have a voice yet, so you're trying to juggle that and trying to just make sure that you're present and do all the things that you need to do, and you don't necessarily carve out that time. So I'm glad that I am now.
Well, that is amazing. I'm glad you are too, because otherwise we wouldn't be here right now with this new book, which I want to get into a little bit of the book. Can we go there right now?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so give me one moment here. Just looking at my notes. The first chapter is called Remembering Your First Voice. Mm. Feel like we've already been kind of talking about that a little bit here. Remembering your first voice. What does that phrase mean to you? And how can women reconnect with that voice?
So remembering your first voice is, and I'm so glad you said women, but I think it resonates for any gender.
True.
Um, that so again, since the beginning of your life, you have come into the world and you have been, I believe that you got instructions before you got here. You knew exactly what you were here to do. You had an assignment. You came into the world, and then in that process, it was like your memory was erased. And
Oops.
so what you're supposed to do, in my, this is my opinion, this is my statement,
Okay.
that your job is to remember. Like,
Mm.
that's our job on this journey, is to remember what our assignment was. So I think our first voice is before we even enter the world. We already
Mm.
have a voice, and it is to remember what that voice is so that you can stand in the power of that voice. So I remember, like, being very little and just paying attention to people and just watching how people did things, and my voice was being um, orchestrated at that particular time. So I was trying to find the words that fit me. I think of it like identity, right? So many people are trying to find out where they fit in the world. Who are they? How should they identify? And I think your voice is much like that. So once you really find your voice and you really recognize, this is me, right? And even though I was quiet, um, and oftentimes wasn't really expressing myself like I really wanted to express myself, because I was still trying to find my voice, I had a voice. And once I really recognized that I did have a voice, that
Mm-hmm.
voice, you couldn't, shut me up. I know that I'm an advocate. I love people. I love helping people. I love standing up. I've always stood up for the person that was being bullied. I always rooted for the underdog, because in many respects I felt like I was that person. I may have been, I'm 5'9.5", and I've been 5'9" since I was in the fifth grade. I haven't grown.
Oh,
I think
wow.
I haven't grown since I was in the fifth or sixth grade, and so I was called Too Tall Jones, all kinds of stuff, right? And um, regardless of how tall I was, or my presence, because when I walk in the room, I command it. And it's not something that I try to do. It's just, it's in me to be me,
Yes.
right? So that's part of my voice as well. So I don't have to speak to be using my voice. And when you
Mm.
really understand your first voice and you stand in that, you don't have to speak to have a voice. It's almost like when your mother look at you and you better get right, right? My
Okay.
son, he don't understand that. he, he didn't get that memo. No, I keep trying to be like, he be like, I don't know what that means, but whatever. But my mama, she used to look at me and I used to get right, right? And so I think that's part of the voice also, because she didn't have to go yelling. She could just look at me and be like, you know, you out here embarrassing me, pull it together, right? And so I think when you embody your voice, you can command attention, you can command rooms, you can motivate people. And you don't necessarily have to do it loudly. And this is one thing I want to say to men, the men who are watching, because and I had somebody send me, is this just for, why can't you do something for men? And I'm like, I'm not trying to not do anything for men. However, I've been positioned to help women. However, it resonates with men. So I want to say this, that so many men have been taught to be hard, you know, to show up and be brutes, right? And you know, if I can whoop you and I'm the biggest and the baddest and I'm running it, right? But the greatest men don't have to fight because they stand in their power, and that, you know, they are an emperor or king, and that's it, right? And when you have to get dirty and you have to fight, you're actually operating at the lowest capacity of human nature. And so it's important for men to understand that it's okay to be soft. Society has told you you had to be hard, but you don't have to be hard to be man. You can be vulnerable. You can have emotions. And I remember watching a reel one time, and a young lady was saying that she was talking about children. And she was like, why is it that we tell our sons, don't cry, be strong? That he was like, but why can't he cry? Like, why can't he cry and come to me and say, I'm hurt, without me saying, you a boy, you know, or get it together. Men don't cry. Right. What? Is he not human? Right. And is he not hurt? And so then you get a young man who grows up to be an adult male who doesn't know how to regulate his emotions, right? And then as a woman dating a man, you looking at him half crazy, like, why can't you talk to me? Why? Because his mother told him he couldn't. Or some other man told him, be strong. You know, crying's weak. When crying's natural. It doesn't matter, male, female, it doesn't matter. It's natural. And so I think
Isn't that the first sound we made out of the womb?
Absolutely, right? Okay. I think it's so important that we understand that softness is not just for men or for women. It is for human beings. Our natural disposition is to be soft, not to be hard, not to be angry, not to always have our nervous regulated system all discombobulated in chaos. That's not how we're supposed to live, because that's not living. And when you're doing that, you're striving to survive. That's all that you're doing. And so I think it's important to really think about, when you come back to finding your voice, once you do realize your first voice and how you speak to yourself becomes very important, and how you speak to yourself then determines how you allow other people to speak to you. And that voice, once you realize that that is the key voice that you must operate in, you change the world. The game changes because you stand in something. Yes. And you have that quiet power. The softness shows up, and you don't have, it's almost like water. When I think about water, nobody thinks water's hard. You're like, oh, water is so hard. Water is not hard, but water's consistent. It keeps on keeping on. Mm-hmm. That's how it erodes some of the strongest rock. That's how it erodes some of concrete. Some of the hardest resources, natural resources that we have, can be broken down with mere water. And water it's not bamming on nothing. It's not cracking no rocks. It's not doing any of that. but it's consistently agitating or moving towards something over time, it just dissipates. And so I think when you realize your voice is so powerful, not when you raise it, not
Mm-hmm.
when use your choice, and I love choice words, but not when you cursing people out, right?
Right,
But when
right.
you really stand in your power and just say, hey, listen, I'm not doing that. As a matter of fact, I don't even have no words for you. That's how much you mean to me. And you walk away. And nobody knows what to do with that because they was ready for your comeback because then they can get with you.
Right.
But if I don't give
Mm-hmm.
you no attention to get with, then we don't have anything. So I think going back
Right.
to my first voice, I realized that over time, I've been cultivating my first voice.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, do we have time to hear a little bit of your writing from this book?
Um, I thought we was gonna ask some questions. No? I'm sure
Well, I
I
mean,
can.
I can ask you another question, or we can get a little reading. This is your show. It's your party. It's your book. It's your voice. You tell us.
I,
Well,
I I'm here for the people.
okay, because I mean, I do have a couple more questions.
Oh, well, ask your questions, honey. Ask your
Okay,
questions.
all right. I mean, because you've been preaching anyway. And some of my questions you've already answered, so I didn't even have to ask them. But I have one question because you have given so much um, knowledge and that will that if it is really paid attention to can empower, you know. Um, and I know just from knowing you personally, right? You have helped me. Okay, God, girl.
What I help you with?
You have helped me, particularly with helping to find my voice, or to tune my voice, to fine tune my voice, particularly like with, speaking kind of aggressively, you know, because I too grew up where, sit down, shut up, don't say nothing, children are to be seen, not heard, those types of things. And so it led me to talking loud, yelling, speaking forcefully, especially when I didn't feel like I was being heard. And just something that you would say, very, often to me when we would speak. She already knows where I'm going with this, because I love it. If I had a little issue and I call and I say, Cha, so, da 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 da, ba ba ba, da 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 da, Cha would say, well, I invite you to think about this or to look at it this way. And it was such like no one had ever invited me to gracefully think about my healing. I never had that invitation. But what it did for me, like, I joke about it and I laugh about it, but I'm so serious. It has truly assisted me. And I know, and I hear that same tone in your writing, that's in inviting the person to do the hard work. And but it feels so good though. It's like, oh, okay, let me come on in here and and get to work, So with that being said, with this book that you have written, which I am sure has been in that same inviting tone, what do you want the readers to feel? What do you want us to release or reclaim? Um, what do you want us to get from what do you want us to gain from your book, from your writing, from what we're hearing, reading?
You broke up on the last part, so I didn't get
Oh, I'm
that.
sorry. I said, what would you like for the readers to gain from the reading and the journaling from your book?
So this is a guided journal. So I tell a little bit of story, then I give you some things to do. Then I have some prompts, and then you can write. So it's really about you and your voice, right? So I start off with the first voice because you I think everybody knows what their voice is, but sometimes we have lost our voice. So like when I'm talking to you, I would invite you to to think about that differently, right? Think
Right.
about your words differently. Think about how you may want to talk to yourself. Like
Hmm.
so one part is just like changing your own mindset about writing and how you view it, because anything can be a task if you look at it like a task, right? I don't really want to do this because it's not something that I want to do. And healing, like I said earlier, it's like peace, or patience. You don't want to ask for that because it requires you to do the work. So for those who don't want to do work, who don't really want to heal, this probably is not the book for you. I hate to say that, but when you really want to like sit down and think about, whatever the challenges that you've gone through in life, and you want to reevaluate where you are, or I'm really big into quantum leaping. If you're ready to look at that person that you're trying to be and you're ready to get to her or him, this is a good way for you to sit down and assess where you currently are based off of where you've gone and where you desire to be. And so this is a book for becoming. So I
Mm.
would invite anybody who is ready to know themselves to open the book. To it's not a page turner, right? You're not going to be reading in depthly. I give you a little about my story, how I started writing. I give you little lessons that I've learned, and each chapter starts with something that helped me understand my pathway to writing. And so the book is set up so that you can find your pathway. Maybe you don't want to be a writer, but maybe you need to find your voice again, identify with what that sounds like. So that's what I would hope that people are get the book and do is the work. Is the work.
Mhm.
But what I also learned in life is that it's not my job to make you do the work. It's my job to give you the tools so that you know what the work is that you need to do.
All right, that's what I'm talking about, empowering. Empowering. Okay, so listen, I don't know what you guys are waiting on, okay? Because we have a raffle going and you need to purchase this book, and I just don't know like, we should be running with the fingers to do whatever we're doing. click the, what is this called? The QR code, okay? Because I feel like this is definitely something that anybody and everybody can use at any point in time, helping us to find our own pathway, our own voice, remembering our voice. Like, this is amazing. And we get to hear the stories that Cha has to tell. It's beautiful. I'm excited. I'm excited. I believe we have a comment in the chat. And so I'm going to see what we have here. Okay, we have a question in the chat from Patrina. Patrina, who is also moderating for us here in our chat. She says, what gives you the courage to share your story with the public? Mm.
So when I was 3, I had what I call a visit
Okay.
from the divine.
Mm.
I don't know if it's natural or normal, or if anybody else has had one, but I had this visit. And Spirit told me what I was supposed to do when I was 4 years old. And I agreed to do that. And I knew that I would stand on stages at one point in life, and that I was supposed to help people heal. I didn't know what that really meant, but that I was going to be given the opportunity to help people transition from one place to another. As time would have it, I didn't realize that my life would get harder. And sometimes that's because you need to learn the lessons that you have to teach, right? And so for me, telling my story isn't difficult. So I don't think I need courage to tell what is the truth. At first, I thought people would be like, why she tell us that? Or, I felt embarrassed about certain things. Once you do something and you like, what did I do? Right. But prime example, when I was probably about 24-ish, I dated this guy and we was in this long-term relationship. We lived together. And he cheated and had a baby. Now, at first, I didn't want to tell nobody that. How dare I tell anybody that somebody cheated on moi? Why would you do that? Number one.
First of all,
I don't understand. What was you thinking?
Right.
And then you start thinking about your self-worth. You start thinking about was I not worthy for this part? I couldn't keep a man, because you go tell some old woman that you can't keep a man, And so at first I wanted to keep that to myself. And then one day I was talking to someone and they were crying and they were going through whatever. And it was the prime time to tell them, baby, you're not the only one. So when I was dating such and such and then he came and this is the conversation and he told me he cheated. And she was like, and the first thing she thought was not you, right? Because in her mind, I was put on a pedestal that I would never go through that. Now I thought the same thing, but at the same time, as life would have it, I would have to go through that too. And who am I to hold that story if it can heal somebody? Who am I to hold that story, no matter how much pain it caused me at the time? Because I cried, I was hurt, I was, I had to process the whole thing. And what I realized is that when a person cheats on you, that's not you. It's an impediment in them that they can't keep a covenant with themselves, right? Because if you could, you just say, listen, I don't want you no more. Or you know what? I do want you, but I want this too. Or, it's called communication. And guess what? And I used to tell men this, as I had plenty of male friends. I used to tell them, first of all, you can have anything you want. And a woman will probably give you anything that you want if you ask her for it. If she really loves you and you communicate it in a way that she can understand it, she'll probably give it to you. So you don't have to cheat. You don't have to go do all these things. You just have to be real. And they feel like, nah, I'm going to lose the thing I got. No, what doing stupid stuff is going to lose what you got because you're not being honest. I think a lot of women would understand. I'm not saying I would, but I think a lot of women would understand you coming to them and saying, listen, I love you. I really do. But I just need this time to get this out of my system or whatever. I don't know how you say it or whatever. And they could respect the fact that you brought it to them.
Yes.
And you gave them a choice and you gave them a voice, right? But when you take people's voice away from them, then that's where the issue comes in because you didn't trust me enough to ask me how I felt about that so that I could give you my truth. Because I could have been like, you know what? I was tired too. I heard a story of an older lady saying, at first she realized her husband or boyfriend or whatever was cheating on her and he had a woman around the corner. And she said, then she got smart about it. And she said, hold up. When he over there, I'm free, right? I'm free. I can do me. And so I'm not going to be worried about this man because, now that I understand that this is what it is and I can choose, I'm cool with it. So they had a polyamorous relationship, and she shared her husband with the woman around the corner. But she did that because she knew. He came to her and he told her. And he gave her a voice so that she could choose. Now, when you don't want a person to choose and you want to operate in hiding, then that's where issues come out. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get 100% of the results that you want, right? Because there's going to be somebody that says, no, that's not for me. And guess what? Respect their disposition because that's their choice. Right. But if they want to go with it, that's their choice too. And nobody can choose for someone but them. But I think when we try to manipulate situations and we try to control situations, then we do a whole lot of stuff that's underhanded and we don't come out and be authentic. But you never know what somebody's version of, they might have been waiting for you to say that to them. I the Taurus in me is not really ready for that. I need ownership of, you are mine. I don't really want to share you. So I would just be like, that's fine. But I understand. And I'm glad that you had the kahunas to tell me that's what you want to do. And you know what? I want to honor you because this is the other thing. When you're honest with somebody, that gives them the opportunity to honor you too. Yes. You know what? I'm not the person for you. And that's okay too. And now you have the opportunity to go get with the person who can go with that. Because some people is for the BS, right? And that's okay. I just don't, I don't want to participate or play that way. But if I did, then thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that too. Right. And so I think that's what that is. Yeah. So sharing my story, it's not mine. I don't believe that's my story to share. I think that I have been given experiences and opportunities to go through certain things to help heal not only myself but others. And so whose story is it for me to hide? And guess what? You may say, I got one too. And we can be like, oh, okay. So how did you deal with that? And we have a conversation about it. And it can help somebody. Like even when I had never told anyone, so I was probably about 21, that my mother had a mental illness. And a lot of that was the hiding in the closet to write because I didn't want anybody to know. I didn't want them to judge me. I didn't think I was crazy or I was weird, right? And so what I have learned through this whole process is that I could have helped somebody else that I was too ashamed or afraid to tell somebody this is what I'm going through and allow them to give me grace through a process. I held on to it, made myself sick, worried about what people were thinking about me until I found my voice. Whereas I could have been helping other little kids that might have been in the same classroom, sitting over there hiding, not talking, shy as I don't know what, because their mother was going through something and they didn't want to tell anybody, or they didn't have food, or they didn't have this, that, or other, right? And then you learn things about people later on in life and you like, we all had problems. You're right. We all had situations. I would have loved to have gone through this journey with somebody, but here I am holding it all. And I think when you give people the opportunity to just really just be normal and say, hey, I got dispositions and this is what they are, that you not only help other people, but you help yourself. You become free and not have to hold that stuff.
That is beautiful. So, we have a very interesting question that has come up in the chat from Hillary.
Okay.
Hillary asks, can you speak to why you launched the book on the 1111 portal?
I absolutely can. Thank you for asking, Hillary.
We have a
Um,
tapped in visitor here.
yes, Hunty. 1111. It's a master number, right? It's a portal. So this is a time for you to step into your next big thing. So like I said earlier, I believe in quantum leaping. And so 1111 portal it's the ending of the past portal and the beginning of a new portal. So when you come into something that is moving, right, and thrusting you to the next level, it's a great opportunity to, especially at the beginning of something, a launch. It is a great opportunity for it to manifest quicker, right? So what better time to talk about healing and give people a resource that will allow them to do the work that's necessary for them to become whatever it is that they want to become. Stop dreaming about it and start doing the work so that you can become that, because your next move is waiting for you to make it, right? Mm-hmm. It's waiting for you to step into that thing that you want to do. So this is that time. The 1111 portal is a major portal for you to actually step into the thing that you want to do. I also wanted to do, because it's also about releasing and letting go. So if you get the book and you release the things that have been stopping you, preventing you, holding you back, hindering you, then this is a great time to let it shed that quicker than any other time. And then it's a master number. It's just like, it is mastery.
Okay.
And for me, who this whole year it's been about healing and doing the work, this is the part where it's the ending of my work. And I am now at the point where I wrote the paper, I turned it in. Now I'm waiting for you to say kudos and job well done so that I can move on to my next level. And so I think this was the perfect day. It was the ending of the strife and the struggle and the messy realignment. This is the alignment. This is the push pulls, because that's what the 11 energy does. It's the push pull. It's the, hey, I'm in that place where I'm shedding everything that no longer serves me, and I'm being pulled into the place that I need to be or desire to be. And so I think that when I thought about it and I looked at it, I wanted it to be released so that not only had a meaning behind it, but the energy was behind it, and that those people it resonated with, my tribe, that could understand that this was a divine purpose and divine timing, it would just resonate.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. So you've been talking about quantum leap, and you mentioned a couple of times as you were sharing different parts of your story with us. And you know what I'm hearing, what I'm sensing, what I'm feeling is that this book, released on 11/11, carries the energy of a quantum leap. So those that purchase this book and read it and go to the journal and reclaim their voice and come back to their first voice have the opportunity to join and connect in that quantum leap energy and take off on their next level.
Absolutely. Now listen, this is 11/11. However, this is a 9 numerology year. 9 meaning endings. So the beginning is next year. It's a 1 year, universal year. 1 is the beginning. So you have, if you get this on 11/11,
Today, right
and
now.
you start doing the work, it's 12 chapters. You take the next 12 weeks. You'll be at the beginning of January. Baby, you will start to feel and receive the next steps for you to actually become whatever it is that you're trying to become. So oftentimes we aren't where we want to be because we haven't let go of the thing that is hindering us, or the thing that we're accustomed to, and we're accustomed to it and it's easy. and we don't really want to do the work to let it go. So if you got this book today, which the QR code is up, you can click on it. It goes directly to Amazon. You'll go directly to the page for the book and you can purchase it. And then you can enter the drawing and get a lovely gift basket with a journal, a mug, some tea, a pen. Um, and so by the middle of January, you will see that you are a different person. You will have released some of the things that have kept you in a place that you do not want to be in, of discomfort. And then you will start to see that you can rewrite. I tell people all the time, thank God for pen and paper, because it allowed me to rewrite my story. It allowed me to see what I wanted to do and become that, because I could write that story. The great part of being a writer is, especially for manifestation, if anyone doesn't know anything about manifestation just gives you the opportunity to, say, you know what, I want something. But to want it, you have to embody it to get it, right? You have to become that thing. And as a writer, I can embody any story that I desire to manifest into my life, because I just have to put myself there. And the narrative is what I create. And so same thing in my life. This is why I've always been able to manifest different things. Like I've manifested living abroad. I've manifested my whole entire child. I tell you about that on a different day. But that's now when I manifested my son, that let me know I was super powerful, because I literally thought about what being a mother would be. And I embodied being a mother, and I commanded this individual to come forward. And we made a soul agreement together. And literally 3 weeks later, here, they said you're pregnant. Now, I should have done a couple different things, but that's neither here nor there. He's here. So, but yes, it's a powerful time to manifest. It's a powerful time to just reevaluate. And if you literally don't like the life that you have currently, rewrite it. You have the power to rewrite your story. It's
That's
yours.
right. I love that. You spoke, and we've got just a couple more minutes to address a couple more questions here. We called. Let's see. There was a question. Give me one moment. Let me throw on these little reading glasses here. Okay, that's so much better. Oh, wow. Okay. So Hillary enjoyed your answer. She says, yes, so powerful. I lovingly release what no longer serves me, and I command my needs are being met.
Now that's a Tracy statement.
Well, hey, we all connected in this energy, so let's see, a couple quick questions. Where can you buy the book in Merida? You have to buy it on Amazon, online right now, Amazon.com. Okay.
And if you're
but you were talking.
Let me say this, Tracy. So it's set up so that it's not just Amazon.com, it's Amazon.com.mx or AZ or wherever you are.
That's right, because she's an international author. Okay. All right. So you were speaking about how you manifested your whole entire son, okay? And someone had a question here. This is TN Aquarius. Says, you mentioned God and the visitors that inspired you through your journey. Who are your current and past mentors and living resources that guide you? And do you foster those relationships with those resources? Uh-oh. Are we getting deep?
My answer, I'm not even gonna go there. And so So I will say this. One of my biggest champions throughout my whole entire life was my mother, one, and my aunts. And so anybody who has known me knows that I stand on the shoulder of actually four women, my two grandmothers, my mother, and my aunt. Those were and have been my biggest champions in this life. And it's interesting because me and my aunt don't see eye to eye right now. However, I would not be the woman that I am today if it was not for my aunt. My aunt has always helped be a provider. She's my father's oldest sister. So what he was not able to do or could not do at the time back in the 70s, my aunt, who has no children, stood in the gap, and she provided opportunities and resources, and I am forever grateful for her, right? She has been one of my biggest mentors. She has taught me things. And the one thing that I love about my aunt is that she didn't, you know how you try to give resources to somebody and be like, do this, do that. She gave me the tools, and she allowed me to take those tools and run with them, right? And so I feel like she always knew that if she gave me certain things or hinted towards certain things, that I would take it and run with it. And that's exactly what I did. And so I became one of the first to graduate from college, go on, do other things. She encouraged me when I moved abroad. So she is one of my biggest mentors. And I have not actually had many mentors, because in life, oftentimes when I went to go get a mentor, they'd be like, oh, you already got it. You know what to do. And I'd be like, no, if I knew what to do, I would be standing here. And I even had one person tell me, you are the mentor. But if I ain't never been mentor, how can I be a mentor, right? And so oftentimes I did go alone, and oftentimes I struggled, or I felt like I was struggling harder had I had somebody that was guiding me and showing me and saying, hey, I see you, come on, I need to pull you this way. Then life would have been a lot easier. However, I wouldn't trade my journey for anything. As far as one of my other biggest mentors who is still living is my mother, right? And yes, she had a mental illness, and oftentimes I felt like I was her mother, right? And I was pulling her along. But the one thing that I can say is that my mother, and even with her disposition, she's the most powerful woman I've ever met in my entire life, because you couldn't tell her she couldn't do something. And she was like Jesus. She made water, she made wine out of water, right? And like, she bought her first house at 28 and moved us in the neighborhood. And I just learned this over the last few months with someone coming back in my life that was a childhood friend, that they thought that we was rich. And I was like, rich where? how was we rich? Like, we was living on the same block you was living on. I don't understand. But my mother made things look easy. And people tell me all the time, you make it look easy, that's why we don't think you need it, right? And I'm like, just because it look easy don't mean it is easy, right? I've honed this, probably to my detriment, right? But my mother, well, she's an Aries, and she's fiery, but she comes in calm. Like, you would never know she was fiery until you take her to that level, and then she would get with you, right? And so she was always
fellow Aries.
she was a storm in my life. In my life, she was, creating havoc, but she also was giving me the tools and the resource to be the woman that I am. One thing that I can attribute to my mother wasn't one who, Tom, Dick, and Harry didn't come in our house. my mother had a great co-parent, but I didn't know what co-parent was until I had to do it. And Lord knows, if had I known then what I know now, I probably wouldn't be a parent. But I watched my mother and my father in the hood co-parent, and she would call my father, and my father has never hit me a day in his life, right? But she would call my father and tell her she did X, Y, Z. And I'd be like, why are you calling him? And then my dad would come and he would have this conversation with me like I was a grown person. He would be like, so did you do that? And I dare not lie. Yes. And he'd be like, so why'd you do it? And I would tell him why. And then he would say, okay, so what's the repercussions if you do something like that? And I would be like, I don't know. But it was always, I had to think, right? And he was giving me the tools to think and have dialogue and to be able to move beyond the surface of things. So he also was a great mentor to me, because one of the things my father, I'll never forget this day in my life. He came and he hung out on the street one day. And I didn't know, I was doing me, right? And so he came in and asked me, well, what did you do today? I don't know. So I ran it down because, I'm like my son, I don't see nothing. I just tell like it is. So I was like, oh, I did it. He was like, okay, I'm glad you said that because I watched you for about 4 hours today. I sat in the car, you didn't even see me. So one thing he was teaching me was be aware of your surroundings. Because I was oblivious to the fact that this man had been sitting for 4 hours watching me. But he told me something that I cherished and kept with me my whole entire life. He said that you never know where I'm going to show up. But if you're always doing what you're supposed to do in life, then you won't be found in the wrong. What, sir? What are you talking? I'm 10. What does that mean? But in my head, I was like, oh, he telling me I should never catch you doing something wrong if you always walking right? So if I'm always showing up like I got good home training, then we're not ever gonna have no problems. And so I always, and he told me, you don't know, and I may not show up, but you don't know who I know. And since you don't know who I know, then you don't know who's watching you. And so that put me in the mindset that I should always be acting accordingly. And so I conducted my life that way, where, you know what, it's easy for you to do something if you don't think nobody knows about it. True, but when you do something and okay, I'm living the best life that I could possibly live. And so there's nothing you could tell me about myself that I don't know, because I do assessments of me, right? And so that comes from the fact that my good daddy told me to, just be aware of your surroundings and always be on the up and up. And so you don't have to lie, cheat, or steal when you show up authentically. And these are the lessons that I was learning as a child. And what I've also learned is in fostering relationships, that some relationships came to take you to a certain point. And then after that relationship no longer exists. One thing my aunt used to say to me also was, she was like, why you be falling out with these people? You always falling out with somebody, y'all can't be friends long. And that wasn't the case. What I've also learned in life is that everybody ain't meant to go with me. Some people are here for a reason, season, or lifetime. And unfortunately, I've had a lot of people who were seasonal, right? And I wanted lifelong relationships. But what I also understood is that I have been given a purpose to complete a task. Yes. And if anybody is not in compliance with that task, and their job is not to help me get to that task, maybe they were only here to be here for a certain portion of that task, then I have to receive that too. And what people think they know about you in the places that they knew you in. But when
Yeah.
you go to another place, they haven't been to that place. They can't possibly know you in that story of that place, right? So what I've learned is that everybody ain't meant to go with me. And
Mm.
some people we outgrow. And then there are some people who have to allow you to go do you so that you can get the lessons you need to get. And then y'all can circle back and y'all can have a better understanding. And that's where I am in my life. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Do I assess who I am consistently? And when I am wrong, I don't have a problem admitting she wrong, right? I took that the wrong way. I said that haphazardly. And I was operating off of this understanding, knowledge, and information. And once I realized that was not the truth or my truth at that moment, because it could have been the truth, not for me at that moment. And
Yes.
so I'm okay with that too. And I think that when there's love, and there's always love in the situation, that's at the right time in the right place, we can always circle back. That's what
Mm.
I was.
All right. All right. Listen, we are uh, nearing our ending time here, and I want to encourage you guys. You got about another minute or so to enter the raffle by going and purchasing the book. Screenshot your purchase, the proof of your purchase, and send it to this email. Pins, let me get it right, just a moment. Pins and passports at gmail.com. That's PENS and passports at gmail.com. Okay. Let's see. There was one more question, I believe, that I wanted to see if we had got about one moment. Let's see. I've got two questions real quick. One, which I think is very, very, very important for people that are purchasing the book and going to be writing. It says, what do you do when it is hard to put your thoughts on paper?
That's a good question. You don't. You sit with them. Um,
Mm,
you know, what you don't do is force something. You know, no writer forces. Like when you hear somebody say, I have writer's block, you can't force work to come. And so with that, I would say stop, sit, be still. Because whatever is supposed to come to you will come through you when you're ready. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That's what I would say. I would say don't force it. Meditate, breathe, allow. And when it's ready, it will come to you. But I have some techniques, and that's why guided journaling is easier, because you have prompts. You have questions that's making you think, that's triggering a thought that you may have had in the past, or it takes you back so that you can remember what it is that's blocking you and get out your own way.
okay. Thank you. And I didn't expect that answer. I didn't expect that answer. What do you do
What
when you can't write? You don't. Oh,
you don't.
okay. You don't. You sit with it. You meditate. Love it. Final question here. And we're kind of switching the lanes a little bit, but not really, because this is still tapping into this 1111 portal. Okay. And we have a question or comment and question here from DC that says, I am currently incarcerated and I've tried to manifest my release, but it feels like it's unreal to do so. What exercises can I do to fully tap into this process? And I believe that question came up when was put into the chat during the time when you were talking about 1111 portal, manifestation, quantum leap. So yes.
I'm glad that this question has come up, and for whatever reason you're incarcerated, freedom is always an important thing for us all to want, desire, and to have. And so I would say to you that put what it feels like to be free, embody that, think about what freedom means to you. So for instance, for freedom for me is traveling. Freedom for me is being able to not be tied to something that I don't want to be tied to have the creativity that I desire to have. But let's say I felt in bondage, which I totally know what that feels like at this particular point in my life, because I'm not where I desire to be. However, what I would say is that if you have the ability to go outside, when you hit the air and the air hits you for the very first time, that if that is what you feel like is the embodiment of freedom, take that with you. What does that feel like if you was just remember driving down the street and going to your favorite place? Or what does it feel like to spend time with your favorite person, your wife, your daughter, your children, your parents, whatever that, the special people in your life? Embody that moment and then write about it. The easiest way to manifest something is to first know that you already have it. So don't think about being free, become free. So that means, what do? Think, act, show up as a free person. So even though you may be behind bars or incarcerated, you can still act and carry your day out as if you were free. Some people call it being delusional. I call it acting. And you can act like whatever it is that you desire to have in your life. You start to act like the free person. You start showing up, doing the things that you would do if you were at home. So for instance, if let's say you wanted to go to Ruth Chris or Carrabba's or whatever your favorite restaurant is. And so you would think about it and embody what it would feel like to show up at that restaurant and walk into the restaurant, smell the restaurant, the food, the server asking you, where would you like to sit? Embody that as if you are doing it right now. That is the fastest way for you to quantum leap into the next realm of your reality. That's the fastest way for you to attract what it is that you desire to have in your life. And so writing it also from the first part as if it's already happened. I'm so grateful for the fact that I walked out of jail today, and it was a beautiful day. And I was met by this beautiful woman or a beautiful man or whomever. I'm not sure if you're male or female. But the first kiss, the first hug, it felt like this. And act as if it already happened. There is a great manifester who was an author and speaker from the 30s and 40s. His name was Neville Goddard. And he had a African Ethiopian mentor that helped him understand what manifestation was. So his Adula was his mentor. And he told him at one point he wanted to go to Barbados, which is where Neville was from. And he wanted to go to Barbados for a trip for Christmas. And he said, I don't have any money. I'm broke, blah, blah. So Abdullah told him, you're already in Barbados. Envision being in Barbados. And Neville thought he was crazy. He was like, I'm in New York. I'm not in Barbados. He was like, okay. But if you want to be in Barbados for Christmas, you are already there. See yourself there. So Neville went away and was like, this man's crazy. He came back. He was like, I'm not in Barbados still. I'm still here in New York. And he kept telling him, he said, no, you are in. He said, I saw you get on the plane. I saw you get on the ship. I saw you get there. You wrote me back from Barbados. And he was like, I did not, because I'm still in New York. And he kept telling every day, he kept coming to him and saying, I'm still not in Barbados. He was like, until you actually embody being there, you won't actually get there. And then eventually he kept seeing, I'm in Barbados. He kept waking up. He would go to sleep. And the best time to actually have this manifestation or a visual is either before you wake up, right as you're waking up, as you're coming to start seeing it, or right before you go to sleep, because it is going to be embedded on your subconscious mind. So eventually he came to him and said, well, my brother just wrote to me and he's going to send me a ticket, but it's a third class ticket. And then Abdullah said, oh, I saw you going first class. I didn't see you going third class. He said, well, I got the ticket. He said, I didn't see you going third class. And he was like, I don't know how I'm going to do that. And literally start seeing himself in first class. And by the time he got to the ship to get to Barbados, they moved him to first class. It's all about what you embody. See it from the end and become what it is that you desire to have and bring forward in your life. And so you can also rewrite. If things don't happen the way you want them to happen today, you can rewrite that. And it doesn't shift in present moment what's happening, but it does redirect what's next to happen. And so if you really want to go home, be home, see home, feel home, become home. And that's the best way for you to manifest. And I send you much love. So I think Tracy is having difficulties with the internet connection in Mexico. So I'm going to do this as we wait for her to come back. Let's see. I think that's all the questions. But I'm just going to go ahead and read a little while we wait. Like I said, this is a guided journal. So it's a little story and then it goes into the work. So the first chapter is remembering your first voice. Your memory narrative is your voice. My mother has always been a powerful woman. She's an Aquarius. Oh, she's an Aries. Lord. Okay. She's an Aries, a quiet storm. For the most part, she kept to herself and she had a meek side. But when she was mad, you could feel the wrath of the fire sign. I knew my mother loved me. I was her love child. She and my father had planned me after losing their first baby. I always felt chosen. But I remember the night of her first episode, like a movie that wouldn't leave me. I was 3. My baby brother was only a few months old. In the middle of the night, my father came and woke me up. He put me on my grandmother's bed, and I stayed awake because I could hear him and my grandmother talking downstairs. They argued about whether I should stay or go back home. My grandmother, a woman who didn't bite her tongue, who stood on truth and honesty, was adamant. She said the police might be looking for my father soon, and he had to do the right thing, take me back to my mother. I didn't understand any of it. I just felt the movement, how grown people move fast when something was wrong. After a while, my father came upstairs and picked me up. He asked where we were going. He said, Mama said I needed to take you home. That night, he put me in the backseat of his candy apple red convertible, wrapped in a blanket. Usually, I sat up front and pretended to drive. That was my favorite thing to do. Tonight, the windows were down and the wind was slapping my face, but I was quiet. When we got to our apartment in Bellevue, Nebraska, Uncle Sam carried me up the hill. He was my father's best friend. There were police officers, my maternal grandparents, my grandmother's boyfriend, and my mother, ranting and erratic. I remember hearing someone say she threatened to burn the curtains and was a danger. In that moment, something inside of my 3-year-old felt self decided I would be my mother's protector. From that night forward, I learned early to watch, to listen, to stay ready. I, I didn't yet know I was highly empathic or that this would be the first stirring of my spiritual life, but I did know I had to survive, and writing would become the way I did. Uh, so the next part is what I call the big sister wisdom. What this memory taught you. This is the teaching. You became a guardian out of necessity. You learned to read moods, to anticipate trouble, to be the steady one. Those survival muscles saved you, and they also taught you to silence certain parts of yourself so that you could hold space for everyone else. Softness is not the opposite of strength. Softness is a disciplined choice to feel, to create, and to receive. When you remember our little selves, when we remember our little selves, the ones who first kept a secret, first wrote a wish, first hid under blankets and dreamed big, we permit ourselves to stop carrying the whole world alone. Your first voice was small but real. This workbook is about letting that voice grow louder and kinder.
Mhm. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My apologies. It seems we're having a lightning storm over here, and every time there's a big flash of lightning, it's shutting off my internet. So I apologize.
No need.
Um, so I tuned back in as you were reading. You already started on that, and that story was quite vulnerable. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely.
Okay. Well, because I was gone there for a moment. When I left, you were answering DC's question, and when I came back, you were reading. So, so let's see here on my notes here what we have next here. How are we looking on the back end here with? Oh, I thought I just saw something with the raffle. Are we ready for the raffle?
Mm.
And of course, that raffle depends upon you all making the purchase tonight. Tonight. All right. Oh, that's a beautiful box there. Got the mug and tea. And let's see. Okay. We are going to pivot just a little bit. And we are going to, because we got to bring this to a close here in just a few moments. So we're going to ask you guys to send your email entries, okay, for the proof of your purchase. And let's see, we'll say make your purchase by 11/11 tomorrow to enter the raffle, okay? Send it in and 11/11, somehow, maybe Child's going to get onto her somewhere live, okay? And we're going to pull those raffle tickets, okay? And again, you want to send that to pins and passports at gmail.com. All right. So as we bring this to a close here, I believe, Child, that you have some upcoming events that we all want to hear about. I believe you have a writing workshop.
Yes. So next Sunday, I am going to start doing lives where you can come in and work with me. we'll start with some prompts from the book as well as other prompts. And let me just explain what modality I use. So I use what they call I'm trying to hold on one second. I'm trying to do too much. I don't want it to be a ticker. Okay. I want it to just show up. Okay. So I use expressive writing, which basically the way it works is that you write every day for 4 or 5 days, and you basically, it's like a brain dump. You don't think about grammar, you don't think about structure, you don't think about what you're actually thinking about. You just write. So let's say I wanted to go back to that moment at being 3 in my mother's first episode. And I went back and I asked myself, what does the 3-year-old child feel about that? Right? What did it mean to be my mother's protector? And then you just start writing, and you write for about 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes, and you just dump. And what happens after 4 or 5 days, it has been proven, scientifically proven, that you can restructure things about you, your health. People have gotten healed. Things have shifted for them. People have been able to get free out of incarceration. You first get free out your mind. That's the incarceration first that you want to be free from. So what in your mind are you not free about? What haven't you dealt with that's in your mind? And then you move from there. And what happens is you start seeing a shift. And it doesn't take long. It takes about 4 or 5 days that if you do this. And so I want to begin to do these writing workshops where we sit, we breathe, we meditate, but then we actually do the work. And we rewrite the story, because just because it happened does not mean that it has to go with you. Some things came to teach you something, and the lesson you haven't even learned because you haven't actually went in depth into it to see what it meant for you. What was the meaning behind whatever it is that you went through? So yeah, we'll be doing that. And I also have
that's starting Sunday, November 23rd.
Yes, I don't have a time yet, but I will send out some information that'll be on my YouTube. It'll be on my Facebook, the TikTok, and it will be on Instagram. I just had to say that. And then also, I'm about to put up the QR code for, the QR code for, you can go to, Pens and Passports. The QR code that's now up will take you to Pens and Passports. If you click on it, you can become a subscriber, and that's where I write. It's like it's a newsletter. Yeah, it's my Substack, and it is where I write stories. So I talk about my messy realignments, life transition and shifting things. I talk about whatever it is I want to talk about. And normally it's from a place of trying to heal or a place to teach. So you can engage there as well. So that's kind of like a blog, but they call it a newsletter these days.
Okay. Okay. And that's and for those that don't know, because I didn't know what Substack. I was like, sub who? Okay. It is, and I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail, but I know it is an app. Okay, that is Substack. So, Google it.
Well, if you go to the QR code that's up right now on the screen,
that's right. There we go.
just scan it, and it will take you directly to the Child Jones at Substack.com, where you can subscribe to get the newsletter. It can be emailed directly to you, or you can actually become a member of Substack. And it's just like Facebook, but for writers.
Okay, there we go. Substack, just like Facebook, except for writers.
Mhm.
All right. And authentic ones, I hope. Like Cha Jones,
I don't know.
author, speaker, coach. Okay, listen, there's definitely going to be a replay, right? But for those that have been tuning in, go and look at the replay because sis was preaching, sis was delivering, sis was been giving us all of the big sis that we need tonight. There's been so many gems. I've been trying to like catch them. I'm like, oh, what's that quote? Wait, what's that quote? It has just been coming. And we thank you so much for your wisdom. We thank you for I just really want to thank you for recognizing your purpose and stepping into it boldly, brightly. Like no one right now would ever know that you were ever reserved. No one would ever know that you had been playing small. No one would ever know that you had been hiding. And baby, we want to be like you. Okay?
That's
So,
almost like that patience. You probably don't want to ask for that because it's
well,
it's not for the faint of heart.
well, I didn't really ask. I didn't really pose a question. I'm gonna be a little technical with it. We want to purchase the book and go down the writer's pathway. Okay.
There you go. Do that.
That.
Do that.
All right. So listen. Once again, if something tonight touched you, which I mean, it had to. I'm just going to decree that everyone that has heard this tonight and everyone that will hear this going forward, that they will have been touched by something that you said. Um, that reflect and rewrite workshop that you have coming up on the 23rd will help us to go deeper. So this is not just about writing, it's about releasing, it's about healing, it's about elevating, it's about becoming, as Cha said, it's about becoming. Okay. So do you have any final words, final reflection?
Well, I do want to thank you, my good sister friend in Mexico, who is showing up and showing out for me. I appreciate it. You have wonderful energy and you are a healer in your own right. And, you have been with me on this journey and helped me dig deeper. And one of the things you let me know, quick compartmentalizing. And I'm quick to, that goes there, it has a pretty little place, right? Because I've been doing it my entire life. But when you don't want to do something anymore, you learn how to do something different. And that's not always easy because you also have to unlearn the things that you have been carrying with you for some time. Almost 46 years, right? Or 49 whole years. This is the whole entire life. And also it just requires you to be honest with yourself. And so often we don't get to where we want to be because we haven't been honest with ourselves. And that's reassessing yourself every day and asking yourself, like, did you really show up like the best version of you? And it's okay if you didn't, but how can you do it differently tomorrow and rewrite the story? So I say thank God for pen and paper because it saved my life. And if I don't know where you are, I feel like I'm going to church and it's that point where you say, are you ready?
Are you ready?
Come. But if you're ready to heal,
yes,
it will require you to do the work. And I won't promise it will be easy, but I will promise that if you do the work, you will realize some things about yourself that you weren't aware of. And you will figure out what has prevented you from getting where you want to be. And that's not easy, but it doesn't always have to be difficult either. You just need to answer the call. And that call means showing up. And maybe it doesn't show up on paper first. Maybe you still need to refine your thinking about it. But get out your head and get onto the paper and rewrite the story. And so I'm here for the benediction to call you forward, tell you to come home to yourself, and that all will be well.
Oh, I love that. And all will be well. She's inviting you.
I invite you to rewrite that story.
All right. And you can get started with rewriting that story by purchasing the book on Amazon.com. It is on whatever a country you are in, okay? Because we have international author here, Cha Jones, okay? You can also, to enter the raffle, please make sure that you send your screenshot of the proof of your purchase to pensandpassports@gmail.com. It's up on the screen right now. Let me see. Please, I invite you to subscribe on YouTube to Cha Jones, to her YouTube channel. Grab the book, join the Pens and Passports Substack. That mailing QR code is on, that QR code is on the screen. Let's see. I think that's about it. We want to thank everyone for joining us. Thank you so much, Cha. Thank you so much, Cha, for stepping into your purpose and power and sharing it with us. And
absolutely. I also wanted to thank our moderator because she did such a great job of filtering those questions from YouTube. So thank you, Katrina. I'm gonna read you. There she goes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank everybody for watching, tuning in. For those of you who started with us but had to go, those of you who stayed with us, and those of you who are watching on the back end on the recorded version, because it's up on YouTube. Keep watching, share, and subscribe. But more importantly, leave comments. Tell us what you're thinking so that I can respond. I respond to all my comments.
Okay. All right. Well, on that note, let's let that in with that beautiful voice right there. Here we have it. Author Cha Jones, The Writer's Pathway.
Bye for now.